How are you doing, mate? And good to see you. Okay.
Everybody good? Yes? Pronto. Good, good. First of all, happy holidays, everyone. For 3 years, everyday New Yorkers have been waiting for paid sick leave coverage. You know, we've talked about this now many times. Parents who, when their children were sick, got called away from work. They knew, but just by going to take care of their kids, they're going to lose at least a day's pay. Talk about people who are sick, and if they went to work sick, we're going to get other people sick. We're only going to get sicker themselves. This has been the reality for 3 long years, and during a very tough economic time, when the average New Yorker could not afford to lose that day's pay. So after 3 years of an intense fight in the city, where a tremendous progressive coalition came together to call for justice, to call for fairness for everyday New Yorkers, we come to this day. And on this day, Speaker Quinn announced a deal. A deal she didn't want to do. A deal that took years of pressure. And let's be clear about that. If Christine Quinn had had her way, there would not have been a paid sick leave bill. And the bill she finally agreed to leaves out 300,000 New Yorkers. And even for those covered, it will be a year or 2 before they benefit from this bill. So some people waited 3 years, and now they're being told you'll wait another year or 2, no matter how much trouble it causes you and your family. Other people will just go on waiting and won't have paid sick days coverage. It's clear that for the last 3 years, Christine Quinn wasn't listening to the voices of everyday New Yorkers. She was listening to the business community. That's who was calling the tune. By the way, we have a lot of evidence of that, from the responses by the business leadership and how that every time mirrored what the speaker said, but also, as one of the newspapers represented here indicated a few days ago, with $370,000 in donations to Christine Quinn's campaign from individuals who had signed a letter to her opposing paid sick day coverage for New Yorkers. So it's obvious that the political pressure got to be too much for her. It's obvious that an extraordinary progressive coalition finally forced this issue to the fore. And I want to just take a moment to say thank you to that coalition. It took a long time. It took tremendous persistence. But they got something done against the most adverse circumstances. And I give them a lot of credit for that. But in the final analysis, this bill leaves out too many New Yorkers and takes too long to reach even those it does include. And that's wrong. Now, obviously, I'm a candidate for mayor. And let me make clear, as a candidate for mayor, that this fight for paid sick day coverage must continue. This coalition must continue its work, and I will be standing side by side with them. Because we have to hasten the day when everyone is covered. And we have to hasten the day when that coverage actually reaches people in need. When I'm elected mayor, it will be a top priority to pass comprehensive paid sick days legislation that will reach people immediately. I don't want to wait till late in 2014 or even 2015, as this bill indicates. I don't want to wait in the way this bill suggests that maybe if we have some economic bad news, some of this bill won't even take effect. And I certainly don't want to leave out the 300,000 New Yorkers for whom this deal doesn't reach. I don't know how you say to them, we're giving paid sick days to some, but you don't get included. I've said time and time again, we have evidence from around the country. Paid sick day coverage has not undermined small business. We have evidence from around the country of what the right level of coverage is, 5 employees and up, just as we saw in the last few weeks in Philadelphia and in Portland, Oregon. But the bottom line today is, we saw Speaker Quinn cut a deal she tried with all her might to avoid agreeing to. But the voice of the people was too loud, and she finally had to agree to a bill. But it's not a bill that does what New Yorkers need in terms of reaching all the people who need it now. Be happy to take your questions.
The speaker had unions behind her today. She had businesses behind her today. Some people may say you're taking to the steps right now as a political calculation that the fact that she's brokered this compromise, it really damages your mayoral campaign. What do you have to say to that?
First of all, as I said, any organization that fought for 3 full years, we had the 3-year anniversary of the bill introduction just a few days ago. So a lot of the organizations that were standing there today spent 3 years of their lives fighting for some simple justice for everyday New Yorkers. And I understand why they were willing to take this deal. As the saying goes, when a hungry man is offered half a loaf, they'll take it. But I think at the same time, a lot of the folks involved are not satisfied. They're going to continue this fight until paid sick days reaches everyone possible and as quickly as possible. And I think this issue continues to be front and center in this mayoral discussion because it's all about the future of this city. I think if you ask everyday New Yorkers, do they want to wait another year or 2 for paid sick day coverage, they'll tell you very quickly, no, they can't afford that. I think if you ask everyday New Yorkers, is it okay that 300,000 people got left out, they'll say no. So that's why this issue remains absolutely alive in this debate about the future of our city. Now, further, I think what people have seen in the last months indicates a lot on the question of leadership. I think the people of this city want leaders who respond to their needs. I don't think they want deal makers. I don't think they want obfuscators. They want people who respond to their needs. And as we've said many times in this debate, well, it's tough economic times. It's exactly in tough economic times that people want to see a response from their government, and they haven't seen it here. So I think the question of leadership will be front and center in this election, and I don't think that question goes away because this compromise was struck.
Bill, to that point, on issues like fines against vendors, Inspector General, sometimes it appears that folks like you critique Christine Quinn and action follows that. Is that your sense of how these things unfold, and what's your view of that?
I think we have seen a pattern where progressive leaders, and I count myself among them, represent the voices of the people, and the speaker often responds to other voices. In this case, obviously, to the business community. The big business establishment of this city, represented by the New York City Partnership, and they really, literally do represent the biggest businesses in the city, and they fought tooth and nail against paid sick days for everyday people. Clearly, Christine Quinn responded to the partnership time and time again. And I think, as an alternative, what I've been saying and what others have been saying is people need help now, and it's the government's job to do that. We have seen a pattern where that message resonates, the public responds more and more to that message, and her hand is forced. Now, that's not leadership. That's acquiescing to public pressure. I think the people want the real thing. I think they want leaders who listen to them and